Are we live?
Yeah, that happened.
I bet the people are already loaded up.
Are we live right now? Because I don't feel alive. I feel dead inside after what
There we
was
go.
an extremely painful game from start to finish for this Boston Celtics team, who fall to the Oklahoma City Thunder without SGA, by the way. 150. That's
That
right,
part.
150 to 117. And we got Sherrod Blakely who's joining us right now. Great timing, Sherrod. You're just in time, Sherrod. I know how badly
He doesn't
you
even want to
wanted
talk
to
about
come
it. Look
on.
at his face. He don't even want to talk about it.
I,
What
I'm
the hell just happened?
I'm
What the
gonna
hell was that?
I'm gonna play the role of John Zanis tonight. Fortunately or unfortunately for some, I know
Gotta
I
turn
know a
up
lot
the
of people
volume then.
want to hear John after a big loss. But what are we doing here? In the words of John Zanis, Bobby, what did we just watch?
It was a game where they didn't show up, and there's different elements that you can throw into this, whether it's Rob's absence and a bad Horford game, and some little things that are probably specific to tonight that made it a historically bad loss for the Celtics. But you can't ignore anything other than the start. Another game in this string of what's now 8 losses over the last 17. So pretty much a 500 stretch now going back to the beginning of December where they aren't making shots early in games. Some nights is bleeding into their defense. Some nights they have the defense to make up for it. And tonight was as bad as they've played defensively all year. Layup lanes in the second half for dunks. Shooters getting out on the break and finding space. Offensive rebounds turning into 3-pointers, and it amounts to, I guess this was tied for second most points that they've ever given up in their franchise history. Uh, we had a
Not just any
negative show.
franchise.
We had a negative show after the Denver game, and it's like, all right, it's one bad game, some funky stuff happened, but I haven't liked the way the team's played offense since the three stopped falling. The defense has kind of been uneven all season, as we've talked about. And listen, you get off to this historic start, you buy yourself the ability to slip a little bit like they have here. But it's lasting too long, and I'm very interested to see what the team's reaction is because I don't think it can be, oh, we just didn't have it tonight, or shots didn't fall, or some of the stuff we heard through their last losing streak.
Yeah,
Those
I
those
need some answers too. Yeah.
those those so-called explanations that they're giving after some of these losses are bleeding into what we call bullshit excuses.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing. This team needs to own up to the fact that they are playing crappy basketball in every sense of the word. They're not defending. They're not rebounding. They're not. Listen, Denver, they got outshot. Denver played a phenomenal game in terms of shooting the ball better than 50% from the field, better than 50% from three-point range. You get it. It happens. But what we saw tonight was a young, athletic team that just played as if they had nothing to lose,
Right.
beat the snot out of you, Boston. They beat the absolute breaks off of you in every sense of the word. They outworked you. They outshot you. They outhustled you. They outcoached you. They outperformed you on every single metric that matters. And I don't want to hear this. It was just one of those nights on the road. Bullshit. You got your asses kicked, and you should be mad about that. Great teams lose, but great teams don't embrace losing. They're fired up about it. To me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
one of my favorite moments in the entire game, and there weren't that many, was when Marcus Smart got tossed. You know why? Because Marcus Smart on that particular play, he did get fouled, and it should have been a shooting foul. And yes, did he overreact to it? Absolutely. But at least he reacted. That was my thing. They're getting
Yeah.
they're giving up layups. They're not trying to foul anybody hard. They're not trying to contest. They're not closing out. They're just like, oh, we'll get down by 20 and we'll just start knocking down some threes and we'll get back into it. Hell no.
Right.
Hell
Yeah.
no. I need them
Josue,
to
what you
play
got?
as if they care. I need to see that they care about losing
Yeah.
because the just the body
Yeah,
language
that's a good
after this,
point.
it was just like it was just like a loss in the middle of
Right.
November. No,
Nah, let it out,
no,
Sherrod. Let
like
it
a
out. Come on, you're fresh off
campfire.
vacation, man. Let it all out. You good.
This is bullshit. What we seeing now, y'all know it, and they know it. That is bullshit. What we saw out there.
You're spot on. You're spot on, Sherrod. Especially because their mindset going into the second half. I mean, where's the adjustments? Where's the look? The criterion to beating the Celtics all season long has been get out to a quick start. I get that, but the response or lack thereof, I'm I just don't get it. Like defensively, it just seemed like they were a step behind. not hustling to those 50-50 balls. Forget it. The second chance opportunities, of course. They weren't. The Oklahoma City Thunder were able to capitalize on that, but it was not only just the pure effort, but guys got hot. I mean, that's what happens when you have, a younger team that it's their night. Guys coming off the bench, coming up hot. Isaiah Joe and the Celtics had this sort of body language, this sort of mindset where it was just like, oh, we'll just get it back on offense. It's like, no, you have to stop the bleeding. And they never did that. And especially coming out of halftime, I was shocked as to see that there was no change in their approach whatsoever. If anything, they looked a bit slower, on defense. Like, I didn't see any type of adjustment. And look, we talked about this after Denver. Denver's a really talented team. Like Sherrod said, they got hot. An offense that good, it's tough to beat. However, the type of response from a team, again, we talked about after the Denver game, it's going to put more pressure on Joe Mazzulla. Like, what are you going to do now? How are you going to get these guys to play better? I mean, he was sort of under this microscope already, but I mean, this 500 stretch from the beginning of December to now, I mean, how is he going to change things, especially going into this tough matchup against the Mavericks on the road, with a chance to pick up another L,
Can I get mad early?
Early? There's no Bobby.
I'm not doing the Joe thing. Give me a break with the coach. This guy, he gets little credit.
But how is he going to get them to respond, Bobby? That's my question. I'm just wondering.
It's fair. I'm just talking to the chat because I see it in my mentions. Joe is not to blame right now. Like he is what he is. He's doing what he did early in the year when he was getting all the praise and credit. He's staying consistent. Now you got to adjust. And he's certainly part of this blame pie that we're building right now. But when your team just doesn't show up like they have in various games over the last couple of weeks here, it's on the players. Like this is Ime from last January all over again. Everyone wanted to blame Ime then. The players just weren't executing the different things that they try to implement then. And we've seen less and less of the things that they want to do stylistically over this last month here. Less of that offensive movement, less of that just excellence in the half court that's not allowing teams to get out and transition on them. The rebound, you talk about these effort things, Sherrod. Like, how much can a coach instill these little things in terms of just showing up to games?
You know what I always found motivated guys when they're not giving great effort? A seat next to me.
Yeah, they should have benched the guys at the end.
I'm not talking about taking guys out of the game and not playing them at all. I'm simply having stretches in the game where you see your players are not giving great effort. Sit their ass down, have a civil conversation, if you want to call it that, and politely let them know that they're getting their asses kicked in front of thousands of people. And if they want to get back in the game, fix that shit right now. Because that's the problem. They're not playing hard enough. And the thing, Bobby, the one thing that I've and again, this comes from watching this damn game for too many damn decades. Teams throughout the course of the season are going to make adjustments. They're going to take away whatever it is that you're doing well and force you to do other things. That's why when they were knocking out all these damn shots and I'm screaming, where's the D? Where's the D? Oh, as long as they're shooting this unprecedented knock down 3-point shots and all this other stuff, they're going to be okay. But at some point, that's not going to be the case. Only this is in December, it was especially apparent. Only 2 teams shot the ball worse from the field than the Boston Celtics. Your Charlotte Hornets and another crappy team. But Charlotte was the one. They were the third worst team from the field in the month of December. And you can't be an elite team and fall that far. And ironically, their defense was great in December. If you start looking at the numbers, and that
inconsistent though.
They have exactly. They were nice, but they were lights out defensively. And other nights they were average. And so they were certainly one of the better teams in the month of December. But the point is this: you have to figure out what your identity is, and you cannot swerve from that. If you are going to be a team that is going to live and die by the 3-point shot, damn it, you better have enough guys who can knock that shot down. If you want to be a balanced team, which are the teams that ultimately win championship, teams that can play great at either end of the floor, you have to do that consistently. Losing to Oklahoma City, to me, there's no shame in losing to them. Getting your ass whipped, giving up $150, that's embarrassing. That's uncalled for, and that is something
without SGA.
They gave up 150 to a bunch of guys that are like
guys on
at
their
the
on their rookie
YMCA
contract.
sometimes. Like guys
on their I mean, a bunch of guys on their rookie contracts. Other
like
than
you
like
could
maybe
just play
2 or 3 guys.
pickup and hold these guys to less points than the Celtics did tonight. I mean, that's unbelievable.
So here's
No offense to everyone on the team, but hold on real quick. Let me get a couple words in since you guys have gotten your words.
Yeah, we got Jimmy all.
I'm trying to run the chat. The chat's obviously all up in arms right now, and I'm trying to put some comments up here. There's a few, thanks to the people who super chatted us. I think it was Kev and Dirk. Dirk said one thing. Dirk, most of your message I disagree with because I don't want to, give excuses. But the one thing you said that I agreed with is something about how the Celtics can't feel entitled, and that's how I felt tonight, where they thought they were just gonna roll the ball out there, and Oklahoma City was just gonna give it to them and go home. I get what these guys have pride. I mean, I know we're kind of dogging them a bit, but they obviously have pride. They're NBA players. They're talented enough to roll with anybody on any given night, and they actually played with pride. They played with aggressiveness. They played with effort. Celtics didn't show any of that tonight. And and listen, the reason why we say sometimes the defense is a little bit overrated is because it's all effort. If you just show up and play, theoretically you should be able to compete. The Celtics team we know is talented enough on the defensive end to compete with any team in the NBA. But when they don't want to put the effort in and they don't want to play both sides of the basketball, when you literally
I disagree with that, Jimmy. You can't just turn it on.
I know you can't. You have to build it up. You can't just flip a switch.
Yeah.
But I've seen it enough where I know that it's there. But they're not doing it consistently enough. Again, it goes back to thinking that they're just going to outscore opponents. Like I said, SGA's out tonight. They thought that they had no chance in losing this game, but that's not how it works. You have to actually play basketball. It's frustrating because you know that they're better than this, and consistency is very, very important in this league, and you have to build healthy habits. You want to go into the playoffs playing, the right brand of basketball. And I know the playoffs aren't starting tomorrow, but you can't just take nights off. You can't take road trips off. You can't go on these ridiculous hot streaks and cold streaks where it's just no way to gain any sort of, I guess, stability within your team.
And Jimmy, that's why I'm always going to lean on the value of defense, because I know at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing in a game, if you're playing relatively good or average at that end of the floor, you're going to give yourself a chance to win. You're going to give yourself, right. If you have the mindset that we've got to outscore these guys, as opposed to we need to run our system and find ways to win, you're going to have problems like this. You're going to have nights where basically only 2 guys are making shots right now, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Pretty much the rest of the crew is just like, okay, let's play. Nah, let's win. Forget about playing. Play is what you do in the preseason. Play is what you do in the offseason when you're hanging out with your fellas. Winning is what you need to be about now. And they seem to have lost their way. And again, so much of this, I think, comes down to effort and energy and things of that nature. And there just wasn't much of that tonight. You can't control how well you execute, but you damn sure can control how hard you play. And they didn't play hard enough.
They did not even close.
Yeah.
Here's this.
Especially on.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at these stats. Look at these stats, guys. 21 fast break points from OKC, 70 points in the paint, 54 bench points, 16 second chance points, 14 steals. That's effort. That's aggressiveness. That's, running the floor. How many times?
That's a recipe for getting your ass kicked and getting bounced in the first round of the playoffs by a hard-playing team.
Yeah, how many times did you look up and OKC was just running in transition and the Celtics were just watching them? That was it. How many open looks did they get, too?
It's the way Sam Hauser got the ball snatched away from him, man. And look, I don't even know why he was taking the ball out to begin with, but that's sort of the beginning of where I was like, where's the effort here? Or the lazy passes. Tatum had a couple of them. Just
they almost had a turnover at the end of the third that turned into a buzzer beater.
He's passing in the other direction.
I hate to pick on Sam because I love Sam Hauser. He's
had a rough month.
He's been bad. I mean, forget rough. I'm gonna just call it what it is. I love Sam, but Sam is playing like crap lately. Let's be honest and keep it real. And getting his pocket picked like that. First of all, he should have never been in that position to bring the ball up. I put that on his teammates. That's one of those. It's a Sam turnover with an asterisk, and the asterisk should say he should not have been in this position to turn the damn ball over. Bottom line, they're not playing with great focus. They're not playing with great energy. They're not playing with great focus. And yeah, I know they won a few games, but have they really played winning basketball? Because you can win games and not be playing winning basketball. I still think they were able to find ways to come out ahead, and they did not play great in the process. Not like November, where they were just crushing you. They were average defensively and crushing you offensively. So that's why they're winning by damn near 20, 30 points. December,
The Phoenix game, Sherrod.
yeah.
That was
What's
the
up?
pinnacle. That win against the Suns was it. That was the
Yeah, but the
Bucks,
Suns,
too.
but that every day that stock continues to plummet because the Suns, they lost like 18 games last year, and they're already at that point, and
But-
the calendar just flipped. And
right,
they
but that was
already
like
lost
the
as many
peak
games
of like
this year as they did last year.
Yeah.
So that win doesn't even look all that sexy anymore.
it doesn't. Yeah, you're right.
Now beating
that was
Luka in Dallas, that'll be a sexy win because you might as well put Luka down for 40, 12, and 10 right now. Maybe by
Right.
half. You might get that in the first half.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean, the way he's playing, and we were talking about this earlier, but scoring is obviously up around the league. We just saw Donovan Mitchell go off last night for 71.
That
We
was
well know
phenomenal.
that was insane. We know what Luke has been doing. There's just multiple guys that are just on any given night dropping 40. I mean, guys are averaging over 30 right now. So it's not crazy to see 150 points scored. It's not. I should say it's not as crazy. It's still relatively crazy, but it is the way it happened tonight. It is against this roster. It is against the Celtics, who have no business giving up that many points. So I think this is one of the more embarrassing losses in recent memory over
Hell yeah.
multiple seasons here. I don't know how far back you want to go, but we've had some embarrassing ones. But damn, when you have a team this talented, the way the Celtics are, there's just no excuse for it. I mean, yeah, I know they didn't have Rob tonight, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But Oklahoma City had next to nobody. They're not built.
So here's where I
They're
got
not
worried,
built to
Jimmy.
drop 75, not
Sorry,
150.
but
Never
if
mind
you take
150.
Jay off of that team and Rob off of this team, that does not equate to a 33-point ass from
No.
the Celtics.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Yes,
Here's-
And Josh Giddey put on a clinic. Man.
They got Isaiah Joe
He's a
out there
stud.
like he's like half Isaiah Thomas, half Joe Johnson, getting whatever the hell he wanted.
So they got Giddey.
Joe off the bench too. Jeez.
So I
Dude, that 17 in like the first half off the damn bench, not
Yeah.
the game, what in the first half.
He had it in the second quarter. He dropped
Was it all in the
17.
second quarter?
He got 17 in the same damn quarter, man. It was
Some of
unbelievable.
those plays, there
second
wasn't
quarter
even
was
a
40
defender
to
naked.
18.
He was just
Crazy.
out there.
So here's where I got.
What you
Here's
got,
where-
Bobby?
Here's where I got worried tonight because I came in feeling pretty good about this game. Obviously, I didn't think the Celtics would have another bad game on this trip, just because I think they've bounced back good from bad losses
I know.
this year.
I was surprised too, though.
But I see that graphic they put up on NBC, and I actually saw another stat to start this morning: how great the Nets have been isolation offense, and how bad the Celtics have been isolation defense. Coming into tonight, 26 Celtics that were ranked in isolation defense. And this is something they've talked about throughout this year when they've had these bad defensive lapses, is just individual efforts. And you start to look at some of the numbers here from a team that obviously made its money guarding isolations last year with the switching. And they have some horrifying numbers, from key guys on the team too. You look at Marcus Smart, way down in the 9th percentile in terms of guarding that. 1.26 points per possession, which is a ton to give up in isolation. Jaylen Brown, 1.21. That's in the 13th percentile. Malcolm Brogdon, 139. There's a case Malcolm Brogdon is the worst isolation defender in the NBA this year. And then you have Hauser, Horford, Grant, who are close to that 1.0 mark, which is bad, but they have some bad isolation numbers in terms of guarding that. And even Tatum, 0.95 isn't great. I don't know what that means. I don't know if you guys are seeing anything in that sense in terms of individual guys just getting beat. But across the board, this defense that just dominated in terms of locking down your man, guarding different positions. Certainly Smart was the defensive player of the year last year. They've all been bad. And they're one of the worst isolation defenses in the NBA, which is scary if you think this team's going to go up against Brooklyn in the playoffs.
Well, these are the kind of losses where these are the kind of teams, I should say, that I feel beat the Celtics on these kind of nights where guys are, 6-7 guys are scoring double figures. There's the offense coming from multiple guys, and the Celtics are getting caught in switches, and they get caught in isolation a lot of the times. Especially in one-on-one.
You see Tatum and Brogdon fall over on one of those?
I did, yeah. Especially underneath the basket. So, I mean, yeah, I could see that, especially when you have, again, multiple guys who are attacking and you're getting caught on switches, and it's like sort of that sort of pick your poison when the defense just can't stop the bleeding. But again, I feel like the Celtics, they tend to rely on Tatum and Brown to get them out of those down times, and I feel like when the defense is not able to string together stops, it's just the gap gets too wide for the Celtics to come back, and that's what happened in this one. Especially when they didn't change anything going into the second half, they never changed their defense whatsoever.
So this is a comment that it's not just fire Joe. And by the way, guys, we get it. Okay, we don't need 1,000 of those.
I'm so sick of the Joe. It's so easy to say blame the coach.
It is, but you know what, Bobby? We can't not discuss.
No, he's worth discussing.
Absolutely. So let's talk about it, because maybe it'll get people to stop just commenting that over and over. But
it won't.
No, it won't, and whatever. But I think in-game adjustments has been something that I've mentioned a few times on this show that I wish that Joe would try to do a little bit sooner than he has at points. But man, I think like tonight it kind of goes beyond that. I feel like you had to make an example out of some guys that were just walking in quicksand out there. I think you needed to just, like Josue said, they didn't make really any adjustments coming out of the half. It was the same lackadaisical effort. I wonder if he can't get through these guys the same way. I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if it's a lack of experience thing. Are they too friendly? I don't know what it is. Is there something missing? Is there something missing between coach and player that needs to be there in order for these guys to, I don't know, listen, buy in? I mean, I know they should be self-motivated to some extent, but I would love to see Joe Mazzulla call a timeout. I know that's a crazy thought too, but call a timeout. And I want to see him ripping into some of these guys, knock some sense into these guys out there. I want to see some passion. I don't want to see just not too high, not too low, 24/7. I hate that. I need some emotion.
Here's the thing. I can take a pass on the emotion if that's not who you are authentically. If you have certain other qualities and traits that will basically get that same message across in a different way. For example, this was a game where if you are lacking effort and things like that, look at that end of your bench and who can you possibly throw in there who can give you pretty much nothing else but energy and effort. Noah Vonleh is that kind of player. He's not the most skilled guy out there, but he's going to use them 6 fouls that he gets every damn game. And he's going to give you a presence.
And he wants to play.
Wants to play. And I would have liked to see him
use them all in one quarter.
I would like to see him throw him out there at some point in the first half. And then again, we're not talking about for 8, 9, 10 minutes, but like 2 or 3 minutes here or there, just to shake things up, because clearly your team was not mentally engaged to win today. And so sometimes you just need a guy that seldom plays to throw Blake out there early on. I mean, it was a damn homecoming for.
That's what I was saying after Denver. Sherrod. I mean, and I want to see him out there at some point throughout this trip, because if Rob's not available, throw him out there. Why not?
He's just that in case of an emergency, let's play Blake. And I thought this was a game where you should have played you at least should coach with a sense of urgency if your players don't play with one. And I just didn't think anyone on this roster, coaches, players, it didn't feel as though they wanted to win this game. It felt as though they just wanted to play. They just wanted to get out there and sort of kind of compete, but not really. And then when it got out of hand, they never made any type of adjustments to try to turn the tide. And I don't believe it was because Oklahoma City was playing great basketball. I thought they played a good game, but most of the stuff that they did was not a great X's and O's schematic type thing. Like Denver. Denver did a great job defensively. Their X's and O's were on point. Oklahoma City simply just played harder. This was way more by effort. And to me, effort losses are way more disturbing than ones where the X's and O's don't work in your favor.
Especially when they start to stack up.
Especially when they start to stack up, because as we all know, that 1 or 2 games can lead to 3 or 4, can lead to 6 losses and 8. And next thing you know, you've got a pattern, you've got a trend. And not only inside that locker room, but opponents are looking at you like, damn, if they gave up 40 to OKC, shit, we could drop at least 35 a quarter on them.
Well, that's a great point, Sherrod. Guess where this started? If you go back to the beginning of December, that Warriors game. And what did they say after that game? Oh, it's 1 out of 82.
Right.
But look how quickly it becomes 17.
That was your litmus test, and you failed it badly, badly, and you haven't been able to get back on track since.
No, and we've talked about the non-existent start to this game, the effort. Talked about the coach, but we always want to give the players credit after a win. I'm looking at Jason Tatum. I'm looking at Jaylen Brown tonight. Those guys have to lead not just in scoring, but they have to lead it with their attitude. Have to lead it with their style of play. They have to move the ball around. They have to play hard on defense. Obviously, the same goes for Marcus Smart. I know, Sherrod, you're kind of happy that Marcus Smart got kicked out. I don't really buy that. I think, he's complaining about a foul call. And if you want to show energy and effort and get the team fired up, look at yourself in the mirror. Don't look at the referees. Look at your teammates and get everybody going that way. By getting yourself kicked out of the game, what is that going to do? I mean, if you can take a tee,
Jimmy, the bar was so ridiculously low today. That was literally the best thing I could come up with that they did.
All right, I'll give it to you.
Because my issue was that there was no emotion, there was no effort, and that was literally the best. That is it. And that's sad, Jimmy.
You didn't even see the usual level of complaining.
It's not placed right.
Hold me back, coach. Hold me back.
It's sad that the greatest amount of effort you showed was getting one of your key players getting his ass tossed. That was the most effort they're better than, and I think to me, that's the frustrating part about this team. When we see games like this, we know damn well they're better than this. We know damn well that they can compete harder than this, that they can play better than this. And they don't. And when they don't, we get mad, we get angry, we get pissed. We basically try to project what we were hoping they would project on us. Mm-hmm. Be passionate about the game. Be pissed off. You don't have to punch a locker or do any of that nonsense, but show some semblance of caring that you got your ass demolished by a bunch of cats on their rookie contracts.
Right.
We're talking about the youngest of the youngest. Oklahoma City is, if not the youngest, one of the top 2 or 3 youngest teams in the NBA, and they basically said, "Come to the crib, have a seat, as we beat the snot out of you." From beginning to end,
Basically said, "Come take this. We get a piece of that."
It sounds like Missoula. It sounds like Missoula admitted that they were out hustled tonight, and the effort wasn't there compared to where OKC was. So at least he was able to admit that. I obviously am not watching the press conference, so I don't know. Everything that he said here. You got anything good, Bobby?
He said he talked about them having to go through things like this. Whether you win or lose is a level of humility you have to have in the NBA. And, he did say earlier in the year, you're going to have some losses that, and I've heard a couple people say this year that, you're going to have 2 or 3 losses per year where you just have nothing and you're going to get destroyed. And I think we all understand that that's what tonight was. But it's part of an extended run.
You know what he said tonight, though? You know what he said tonight? He said, "I didn't know it was going to be that bad, though."
Yeah.
But the thing is this, though. He's right. You're going to have those games, but typically those games come when the other team just has the game of their lives.
Yeah.
When the other team plays so far above where they normally play at that all you can do is just put your hands up. I mean, like the Denver game. Denver did a great job from an X's and O's game planning standpoint. And last but certainly not least, their execution was damn near flawless in almost every facet of play. Ball movement, defense, rotating, closeouts, everything that you coach your team to do well, they did well. Oklahoma City, nah. They just played a pretty good game. You threw the ball in the passing lane, he sticks his hand out, guess what he's going to do? He's going to grab the damn ball.
They ran their ass off, yeah.
All they did was play with effort. That's literally all Oklahoma City did. And I didn't even think they played with great effort. I thought they played with good effort. But this wasn't a great, phenomenal, oh my God, I can't believe how hard they're playing kind of game. They played the way they typically play. There was nothing special or unique about the way they played other than the fact that they played supposedly the best team in the Eastern Conference, beat the snot out of the best team in the Eastern Conference, and they did it without their best player.
They got no resistance, Sherrod. I mean,
and no resistance.
2 40-point quarters back-to-back, second and third are mind-blowing. You don't see that. You certainly don't see 150 points in a game, 5 guys giving up 20, and that just goes back to those individual efforts defensively. Why aren't they connected? Why aren't they on a string? What is wrong with that unit where you do have some nights of great energy and great enthusiasm that get you up to number 1 over a 7-game stretch right after Rob got back? They're number 7 in the league. So they have their moments on that end. They have potential. But there are just some nights where they look lost, like tonight, or guys are getting killed off the dribble. I don't know if it's a minutes thing and there's just not the energy, or
It's not a minutes thing. These guys are all young guys for the most part. Like, that's not it. You know what? You know what, Bobby? They came out of the second half. They came out at halftime, and I think they gave up like 10 straight, or like right around there. Like,
and that's crazy because I said in the chat, Jimmy, they're gonna win this game. They'll turn it up in the second half, and they'll turn it around. It got worse.
It got much worse very quickly.
Yeah.
I think 3 minutes in to the second half, it was ballooned to a 30-point game, and it was like, what the hell happened in that locker room at halftime that you came out and gave up 10 straight just like that? I mean, come on.
One of the things I try to do is I try to listen to the visiting teams play-by-play just to kind of see what their mindset was. And when they came out of the half, they talked to one of the assistant coaches who said they stressed to their players that when we come out of the second half, you have to play as if the score is 0-0, and you have to be even more aggressive now than you were to start the game. And they were. I mean, they scored. I think they got a 3-point play within like the first 15, 20 seconds of the third quarter. And they continued to pull away and made this thing just the absolute one of the more unexpected smackdowns we've seen in the NBA this season. And you just can't allow that to happen. I don't care if you lose, but at least go down fighting and scrapping and just playing with effort. That just wasn't the case at all. I mean, Joe Mazzulla was spot on when he made the assessment that they didn't play with great effort. I would go a step further and say they played with little to no effort. Because if they played with some semblance of decent so-so effort, you still probably lose, but you probably lose by 10 or 15 points as opposed to damn near 30.
Right. You lose a lot less because of just based off talent alone. You know, these guys putting together that type of effort would have strung together at least a few stops when things got really bad, especially in transition. I mean, that's the part of this game where I feel like OKC could sense that. They're like, man, we just keep playing at this level. I think we could get away with this one. And they did, obviously, in a big way in the second half. But, you know, the Celtics, they had to clean that up. I mean, that's just something that it really does boil down to effort and obviously, you know, making sure that everyone's on the same page and just trying to be that team that they were that first month and a half, where I felt like they had this huge chip on their shoulder. They had so much to prove to everyone that, you know, they're going to be all right throughout all the situation. You know, when the spotlight was really on them, they responded in a big way. And maybe that's what it takes. I mean, Joe Mazzulla sort of alluding to the fact that, look, if we're going to be great, if we're going to reach where we want to go, we're going to have nights like this. Okay, if that's the case, then let's see the bounce back. I mean, again, that's going to really that's what's going to show us the true character of this team, at least up until this point. I mean, I thought the Celtics had reached at least another notch here, you know, with the way they played against the Bucks and the way they turned around that homestand. But I mean, they're looking like the team that started that homestand now. So here we are again, you know.
I'm glad Jimmy brings up Tatum and Brown too. 4 assists between those two guys isn't going to work. Brown's been great, but we talk about his role. It's not really a role that's connecting with other guys and getting them involved. He's just zoned in on scoring, which is great. I think that's his job on this team. But then you look at Tatum with 2 assists and 4 turnovers, and it's like, all right, who's the facilitator tonight? I'm not getting on Smart for a couple of bad games in a row. I think he's been phenomenal this season. You know, you look at those defensive numbers and you wonder what's going on there. But offensively, he's hit all the right buttons this year. I think these are just a few bad nights from him. Tatum, listen, he's setting a million screens. You look at those numbers and the things he's doing in terms of activity on offense, getting downhill, drawing all these free throws. He, you know, the stats and the approach check the box. I even think they've gotten away from all the threes these last 2 games and settled down their offense. But when you look at the players right now, and this goes back to our Joe conversation, like, is Joe going to make the big speech in halftime? No. Is Joe going to be going crazy on the sideline or pulling guys? So one of the players has to step up, and that's Tatum. That's Horford. You certainly saw.
Except it isn't. It's never those guys.
And it's nobody. No, it's nobody right now. Look at all the dejected faces or just blank stares tonight. No one was really communicating to get guys going. We weren't there tonight, of course. Maybe we missed some stuff, but I haven't seen great body language.
It's supposed to be Smart.
Smart's the only one that has shown the ability to do that and it have the potential to resonate in a positive way. But I mean, honestly, you know, if we're being, I just think Smart in many respects is just beaten down by this team. Like, I think there's a part of him, and I don't think he'll ever admit it publicly, but He shouldn't always be the one to do that. He's already shown he can do that. He's already and the thing about teams is that you have certain roles, but sometimes those roles have to evolve and change, and you got to do some things that maybe force you to get out of your comfort zone. I mean, could you imagine if Tatum just came storming to the locker room at halftime and cussed out everyone in the locker room? It would have been like, oh, did
I
that just
guarantee you they
happen?
wouldn't have given up 10 straight coming out of there if he did.
I'm just saying. I mean, when I think about this,
You
this
hear this
Celtics
all
team,
the time. They follow his lead.
they do. When I think about this Celtics team, I think about they need to have an Ed Reed moment. Former University of Miami player had that great halftime speech. You know, I pour my heart in this shit. I'm hurt, dog. They need someone to kind of get under these guys' skin and just get them to understand that this is real. You can't act as if this is just another game. Even if everything in your mind is telling you that, you have to play with a sense of urgency. Remember, they talked in the preseason about wanting to get off to a good start, and that was great. There was not a whole lot of talk about what happens after the good start. How about making a good middle and a good finish? Can we have that conversation at some point? Can
You
we
don't want
talk
the
about
reversal last year.
exactly, which is kind of what we're seeing. I mean, it looks like the end of last season where they finished with great momentum. They're reverting back as the season goes on to where they began last season at. And that's not what you want, because the last thing Celtics fans want to see is them get into a first round tussle with somebody like Indiana and get taken out. Because I'm telling you, if they don't step their effort game up, this season is going to end significantly sooner than they want. Because if you start looking at the teams that are behind them and are on the rise, they all play hard. Cleveland, they play hard. Brooklyn is figured out. They've left the drama on the shelf and made it all about basketball, and they're playing great.
And those teams,
don't talk about Brooklyn with Bobby here.
I was going to say, those teams you're about to
close to it.
The teams you're about to list right now, Sherrod, they all have stars on their squads
multiple,
too, right?
Multiple
superstars, right?
I mean,
right.
the way
12 wins in a row. Cleveland Cavaliers, they already busted you a couple of times this season, right? Donovan Mitchell almost hit. He felt like he was going to hit 80. If he had more time.
Donovan Mitchell didn't just get his bag. Donovan Mitchell found a second bag that we didn't know about. He's not in his bag. He's into that other bag that we didn't realize was there.
Where did that come from? Yeah,
exactly.
I got that.
I love Mitchell too.
Man,
and he's a good dude. But the good news for the Celtics is that there's plenty of season left where they can get on a flow and just figure out what they need to do to get better. But look, they can't just keep banking on, this is one of 82. Nah, fellas.
Well, tonight's a good wake up call, right? And this is why I'm not going to go after Joe.
We'll find out when they get to Dallas.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what players say tonight.
But you know what?
One more thing on the Joe thing, Jimmy.
Okay. Yeah.
I said coming into this year, I wasn't worried about Joe taking over despite the inexperience, because this group at some point, whether it was Ime, whether it was Joe, whether it was Bill Jackson or Bob Knight, like anyone along the sideline, this team was going to have to figure out how to manage themselves and get through tough moments. And listen, Ime was there last year, and we all loved the job he did. But when things got tough in the finals, his approach didn't work then either. And they had to figure something out that they couldn't at that time. So no matter who the coach was this year, they were going to have to figure out how to persevere through tough stretches and all the different things we've seen them go through in recent years. And they've gotten better at it. So I'm never going to look at the coach with this group anymore. They've reached that stage where they can win a championship. There's no perfect coach that's going to hit all the right buttons and magically make them a champion. They have to do it as players. They have to figure it out through these moments. And I think that's why he does the timeout thing that we get so mad about. I think that's why he coaches the way he does, free flowing and all that, because that's what it's going to take for this team to figure it out. Like they just have to figure it out together. There's no magical coach that's going to fix everything in those tough moments.
No, I get that, Bobby, but I don't think any of us is thinking that it may stay like this forever. I mean, I just think we're all wondering, how is he going to get them back to playing the way that they were playing? I mean, obviously the experience.
They have to do it. It's like, it can't be him.
Right, but he's still guiding these guys at the same time.
So I mean, if they're figuring out, Bobby, how to get back to where they were, what the hell is he going to be doing? I mean, Seriously, I mean,
Right.
not even throwing no shit, because I do think that he has to be part of the process. But Bobby, I agree with you that they can't lean on him to be the one that puts all of them on his back and guides him. I agree with that, but there has to be some type of middle ground where the coach is putting his imprint on this rescue mission, because that's exactly what they need, and the
Right.
players are doing a better job of executing their role in that mission, and hopefully whatever the hell the coach is trying to get them to do, because there is a disconnect, it seems, between what he wants them to do, what they feel they need to do, and what they're actually executing on a game in, game out basis. And I know they've won a few games in a row, and that's great, but have they, again, and I go back to this question, there's a difference between winning games and playing winning basketball. We've seen a lot of teams win games, but weren't necessarily playing great basketball. I think the Celtics fell into that category. What they were doing in November, phenomenal basketball, just absolutely crushing teams. When they were, I'd say they're winning late November, early December. Yeah, they found ways to outscore the opponent, and that's pretty much the big takeaway that they got in most of their victories. They've had a couple of signature ones, but for the most part, they've found ways to beat teams, and you
Tatum and
can't
Brown,
rely.
bro. That's what it
You
was.
can't. Yeah, and you can't. You can only go to that well so many times before it comes up dry.
Well, what you're looking
So-
for from Joe is structure and adjustments. Those are the two.
Yeah.
And I think you've shown that his structure works. I mean, they started what? Just this ridiculous record to start the year. So obviously the game plan that he wants to play with works. But it's adjustments. And it's
Right.
I think you look at all their recent losses, where they start in these games, 3 of 11 from 3, 3 of 10, 3 of 14. They just have these awful shooting starts, and they say it bleeds into their defense. I think he opened tonight saying he wants them to shoot more threes, which I was like, what? That's the one thing I don't like about his coaching philosophy, is just all the shooting, all the reliance on the threes, and that becoming the fixture of your game. I think we've seen can bleed into the other areas on the worst nights. They start going in isolation, trying to solve things. Smart starts shooting more, trying to pick up the offense, and then guys aren't defending.
Well, see, and Bobby, and I agree with Joe from the standpoint of how you establish your presence has the potential to bleed into other areas of your play. That's why defense is so important.
Yes.
Because when you defend, that means the defense is mostly effort. It's not about length. It's not about quickness. It's effort. And when you play great effort at that end of the floor, guess what? Your effort offensively might be a little bit better, which means screens will be set a little bit harder. Guys might move a little bit harder on those cuts to the basket. Layups might be you might be attacking the rim with a little bit more force and get to the free throw line. That's what effort does for you. And effort typically starts at the defensive end of the floor. That's why the idea that they're going to shoot more threes and that's going to, kind of get them in the right frame of mind to turn this around, I'm not sold on that. Because shooting threes is not an effort. That doesn't fall under the umbrella of effort.
No.
In fact, in many respects, it's
The opposite.
of that.
Right.
Because that's the one shot that teams, for the most part, are willing to give you with consistency. They're not
It's
going to
like
give
Jimmy,
you
when you go up and down, the up and down the floor in the wide ball game, and you're so tired, you just start jacking up shot because you don't want to go to the middle anymore.
Speak for yourself, Josue. Speak
It's
for
like that.
yourself. That's Josue game.
It'd
Yeah,
be
that
like
was
that.
for Jimmy. Damn, Sherrod.
No, that's a fact. Actually, that does happen a lot. But you know what it is? You
Jimmy's
start
always
also
commenting on people's game.
if you start relying on the three too often, then all of a sudden you think, well, we can just get back in it by shooting threes, right? So that's the other issue I have, is that they don't want to work for that comeback on a game like tonight. You can't just shoot your way out of effort or out of lack thereof on the defensive end. You have to put it in somewhere. You have to create good habits and move forward in that direction. My biggest concern, if it's and we'll move off from Missoula after this, but right around this time, or even before, the Celtics really started to turn it on last year, in the regular season. We never had to question their effort or their attitude out there. In fact, we were kind of wondering the opposite. Like, are these guys going too hard in the regular season? Or are other teams just kind of like taking it easy and gearing up for the playoffs? I'll tell you what, I'd much rather have last year's attitude and effort and go into the playoffs playing too hard than what I saw tonight and what I've seen in some other games recently. Again, it's not right around the corner, but this was the time last year when they started building good habits, and when it felt like they were buying into what Ime was trying to drill into them over and over. So my concern is whether or not Missoula has that ability to get them to buy into whatever it is that he's trying to tell them, whether it's in a timeout, whether it's at halftime, whether they can sort of rally together and play hard and just, yes, Bobby, you're right. You know that they're capable of doing it, so it doesn't really, and you're almost saying, well, it doesn't really matter to me what Joe does because I've seen enough out of these guys talent-wise that I know that they can get to the finals and win the finals. That's fine. But at the same time, I think you still have to put that in motion. You still have to spark that. You still have to get these guys to play that way and to play together and play connected and to pass the ball. And we saw Tatum and Brown playing more connected the first couple months of this season than we've ever really seen them. I don't want that to go away. I want to see Rob out there more. And I know that they're being very cautious with him apparently. But I want to start to see these things fall into place because all of a sudden it's going to be February, and all of a sudden it's going to be March, and just like that, you're going to have teams like Sherrod said, the Nets, the Cavs, the Sixers are playing solid basketball. No one's really talking about them at all. There's a lot of talent in the East. There's about 5 teams that are on any given night can beat you, and that's not going to change the rest of the season as long as every team stays, healthy. Before we move on, though, we got to pay a couple bills. So, Sherrod mentioned phenomenal a few times. We happen to have a shirt available to fans of the show and of the Celtics.
Does it say phenomenal on it, Jimmy?
It may or may not say phenomenal. So how can you get a shirt like that? Well, one of the ways you can, drumroll please, is if you go over to athleticgreens.com/garden, sign up for whether it's a subscription or a one-time supply of Athletic Greens, you'll get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D, 5 free travel packs with your first purchase, and you'll get an amazing product from Athletic Greens, AG1. It's a powder that's filled with vitamins, minerals, all the good stuff that's going to help get your 2023 off to a good start, guys. That's what this week is all about, that, right? I mean, everyone's getting back in the gym. Everyone's got their goals written out on the whiteboard, their health goals, right? Maybe you're going to start running. Maybe you're going to change your diet up. Well, AG1 can literally check off a major box for you if diet and health is one of them. It's just going to give you that little, not even little, it's actually a lot of, the good stuff that you need. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, gut health, a little powder. Toss it in your water in the morning, and you're off to the races, whether it's work, school, wherever it is you're going. And it's just a good way to start the day. We use it. I know that you guys have been using it pretty regularly over the last few months. It comes out to less than $3 a use, which is less than a coffee these days. Coffee's giving you nothing but a fake little caffeine boost that you're going to come crashing down on at some point. So why don't you put something good into your systems? So check out AG1, athleticgreens.com/garden. Again, you get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D on top of what they're going to give you. They'll also give you the vitamin D. They'll give you 5 free travel packs. Toss them in your duffel bag on the way to the gym. And we'll give you a phenomenal t-shirt right there. Send your little proof of purchase to Xanis. You fill out a quick little form. You'll get a shirt mailed to you. Nick Gelso will personally autograph them all, I'm told. So I'm just kidding. He won't do that, so don't expect that. But
be like, don't ruin my shirt.
Yeah, that's Athletic Greens. And then secondly, guys, another great sponsor of ours, Rocket Money. Rocket Money, I'll tell you what, if AG1 is to your health, Rocket Money is to your wealth. How about that? So rocketmoney.com/garden to save hundreds and cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now. A little health and wealth. That was just something that came to me just right now. I don't know if you guys caught that, but Rocket Money is an awesome website if you guys want to check that out. Basically, there's a lot of us out there that we just subscribe to things over and over and over the years, weekly, monthly subscriptions. I know specifically Josue's got a few of them, but that's neither here nor there.
What's that supposed to mean?
Nothing, dude. I mean, I just know you got some premium subscriptions, but other than that, if you're looking,
That
if
friggin' joke.
It sounds so terrible, Jimmy.
what, dude? I mean, I don't know. Listen. That's what Rocket Money might be for you, man. Who knows
That's
what's going
putting
on?
all
Take the
Josue business on Front
take
Street.
the premium out of there.
Damn.
That's not
He
true.
meant your newspapers, Josue.
No, he didn't.
Premium
No, he
sounds
didn't.
sketchy as hell.
I'll just say that they probably add up. So hit up rocketmoney.com/garden. They're gonna get him in order for you. You might save a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there. All of a sudden, 3 months in, you've got a couple extra $100 to work with, and who knows where you can go with that. So rocketmoney.com/garden, save hundreds and cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now. Also, Rocket Money is just gonna help you manage your money, your finances in general. They do a lot more than just the subscription stuff. So check that stuff out. Okay, guys, thanks for hanging on for that. We got a few things that we haven't spoken about. I mean, Bobby, you wanted to put the Brogdon lower in here for a reason, and we didn't really talk much about him or the bench recently, but I think the bench is a concern. Faux show.
Yeah, and
Oh
They ain't
shit.
getting that. They ain't getting that production.
yeah, and he's the center of it. He was crucial to the success they had early in the year.
Oh, whoops, my bad.
He was crucial to the success they had early in the year. Now he's slipping as that unit slips, and he's kind of setting the tone for both of those stretches. I've looked at the finishing numbers all year, and they've puzzled me. There was a play in this game where he got fouled in the first quarter. Bad entry into the lane. Like, it really looked like he was just kind of caught in there, but he got fouled. Thunder challenged it, got overturned. So that was part of a 2-for-6 start for him. He's just 50% at the rim, which isn't good. I think he's less than that in the lane, like in the paint area in general. Exactly 50% at the rim, 45% in the paint outside of the rim. So he's struggling to finish. He's not shooting a lot in that area. That's obviously where he's going to create for a lot of the time. And if you're not a threat to finish in there, we've seen this with Smart in the past, it can impact your playmaking. And I think he's going through that right now. He does draw 8 free throws in this game, which is good. He's got some good hesitation moves and all of that. But when it comes to just getting in there and finishing, even in transition at one point, he had to pull out and pass to Tatum to finish, or get fouled, rather. I don't know what's going on with him. He doesn't look like he's moving great to me. There just hasn't been great energy in his game. Certainly, I threw out the defensive stat earlier, and he's been one of the worst isolation defenders in the league this year. And he was so good to start. I know he had that hamstring stretch. It was just tightness, they said, about a month ago now. But other than that, he said he's been fresh. He's only playing about 20 minutes a game.
Mm-hmm.
Sherrod, what are you seeing from him?
Brogdon. Oh, he's muted, I think. Sherrod, are you muted?
Yeah, not enough.
You're good.
That's what I'm seeing. Not enough. I'm not seeing enough impact. And again, with Malcolm Brogdon, he's one of those players, one of the few guys who's ever played in the NBA who was a 50, 40, 90 guy. So he has the ability to be a significant and efficient offensive player. But his defense, like this entire team's defense, has to get better. I think you're right, Bobby. It's that, to me, if you want to boil down all the Celtics problems to one thing, that if they got better at that, it would dramatically change their trajectory. It's their defense. If they're a better defensive team, these type of ass whippings don't occur. They may lose some games, but they're not going to lose games and have you wondering, oh, I don't know if this team is built to make that long, sustainable, deep playoff run that they talk about wanting to make. And so to me, they have to figure out a way to get better at that end of the floor, because that is literally going to be the difference between them having a shot at Banner 18 and a season that will leave everyone, including themselves, feeling unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm. What
Yeah,
should they do? More
especially
Pritchard?
Especially against the Mavericks. Well, Sherrod, you brought up something earlier, which I thought was interesting, where it's not benching guys for the night, but just putting them in their place at particular moments. I don't
Shifting
know
minutes?
If we've reached that point. I don't know if Joe Mazzulla has got it in him at this point of the season, but I mean, why not? Why not give guys an opportunity? I mean, obviously, it wasn't in meaningful minutes. It was in garbage time, but Pritchard sort of got a little warm out there, a little lukewarm out there for what was going on, for the circumstances. He made the most of it. Does he get his name called if guys aren't cutting it? I mean, Brogdon wasn't. Look, Brogdon's been struggling lately, and I'm waiting for him to just turn that around. Hopefully, we see that in Dallas. And we talked about it after the Denver game. I don't know if it's a health thing. It could be a little bit of both, but also sometimes I feel like he's trying so hard to get other guys going and trying to get the offense flowing when he checks into the game that sometimes he's got to be a little more selfish. And I thought he tried to be more on the selfish side in this one, but obviously it didn't go too well for him. But I'm not too concerned about him moving forward. However, the second unit as a whole, the defense as a whole, it's got to be adjustments. I mean, there was just too many holes out there, right? It seemed like they couldn't stop the bleeding because it was just coming from every direction. And look, if the Dallas Mavericks get hot, if these guys start shooting and start connecting, and Luka's doing his thing, it could be a really long night, really quickly in Dallas. So hopefully that's not going to be the case.
Bobby, you sent me a quote. Why don't you read it? From Gary.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. From Brogdon, actually, right?
Yeah, Brogdon told Gary when they found out Shea was out, they took a deep breath and relaxed. Honestly,
like,
we should know better than to come out and not play with aggression, not play with energy and urgency. We've heard that from this team, though, the various losses. And I remember talking to him after one of those losses during the losing streak, Indiana and Orlando out there. And I was like, can you see anything? Can you feel anything like leading up to a game like this that just shows you don't have it? And he didn't have an example of what might have been wrong, but you remember last year there was a shoot around they showed up to, and Ime was like, "Oh, we didn't have at the shoot around. I knew we were going to get destroyed tonight." And there's no real signs or anything like that leading up to a game like this that tells you that this might not be the night. And that's actually concerning because, like we talk about, there aren't a lot of players stepping up right now and saying what's wrong. You're hearing these different excuses of energy and shots not falling and all this different kind of stuff, but there aren't a lot of solutions. And I think that's what made it frustrating when Joe came out during that losing streak and was like, "Oh, we're playing great." Like, you might be seeing some things in these games that are good. You might not want to kill the team, but really, you're playing great. And he later defended that comment. And again, we talk about this losing and this uneven play festering, Sherrod. I don't hear a lot of talk of like what they need to do or what they're not doing well or what they need to tighten up right now. It's like, oh, we're making the right pass. Oh, the shots aren't falling. Like it's like they think they're just getting unlucky now over 17 games. Obviously, there's something they need to tighten up on here.
Defense, man. I mean, I hate to beat that dead horse to death,
and that might be where Joe's lacking. If there is a sign that he's lacking.
When you listen to the things that they talk about, you don't hear a lot of talk about getting better defensively. And they talk
remember what they said? They said, "Oh, when Rob comes back, we'll be good." What?
But that doesn't make sense. Rob's a great defender. He's a great defender. But last time I checked, the reason they were a really good team defensively was because they had 5 guys on a string out there. That's what great defensive teams do. This isn't like the damn 70s and 80s where you could have a 7'4" blob out there who just blanks out everything around the rim. Hell no, that doesn't work. You need to have 5 guys that can defend. And and they have guys who've shown the ability to defend at a high level. But for whatever reason, we're not seeing that now. And I don't put, just like I didn't put their success defensively when Rob was out on the other guys, I'm not putting their struggles on Rob either. I think he's done a decent job considering the length of time he's been away from the game. I don't like the fact that he's been in and out of the lineup. And I don't like the fact that I think that there are multiple levels of use that he can give them at the offensive end that I don't think they're capitalizing on, to be honest with you. But that's another story for another day. Bottom line is this: they are not playing good team defense, and I don't really hear a lot of talk about wanting to fix that, and that's disturbing to me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I do want to hit on Rob too, since you mentioned him.
I know you do.
Jaylen Brown, we probably had it coming to us. We pick and choose when we want to play. They embarrassed us. I mean, these quotes suck.
Oh my God. Truth. We just didn't show up.
These are not quotes you want to hear from your team.
It's right? The truth.
I mean, it is the truth. We all said it to start the show. I mean, it is the truth. But these guys are, instead of doing something about it, they're just straight up admitting it.
It's like passive voice. Oh, we just didn't show. It just happened. We didn't
show up for 48 minutes. It's one thing to not show up for, I don't know, the first few, get knocked in the mouth and then fight back. You literally just continued to not show up. You knew that SGA, yeah, sure, you knew that SGA wasn't going to play, and you maybe had your foot off the gas to start things off, but damn, what I mean,
I would think
what,
that you would actually want to mash the gas even harder,
right?
knowing that
Where's
they
the
don't
killer
if they don't
instinct?
have. Yeah, I don't understand the idea of, well, since they don't have the best player, we're just going to kind of ease into the action tonight. Hell no. You're trying to cut them.
Wow.
You're trying to send their fans home in the third quarter. Thanks for coming out. Good night. God bless. That because they don't got the best player. I mean,
Right.
Everyone on the Thunder.
Right.
There's an opportunity for every other player on the Thunder.
Yeah, but that's a
Please,
champion's
doors up.
mentality, though, Jimmy. You know, you're not going into it being like, "Oh, word, he's not playing today. All right, cool. We can, take it easy."
Like,
Yeah. What is that?
Yeah, all right, we just
You
kind of
gotta-
ease into the
Yeah,
game.
right.
No.
Don't they
No,
know
it's
that
like,
they
come
have
on,
a
man. This
target
isn't
on
a-
their back? They have a target
This
on
isn't
their
Oh,
back.
they say that.
team.
That's another thing they talk about, Jimmy. They say, "Oh, we're the teams go extra hard when they play us."
Not tonight. OKC went hard, but they didn't go extra hard. They just play with effort.
They didn't even have to go extra hard.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the quotes,
Denver was
Jimmy,
different.
right? Like, I know we hone in on those things as media, but it's almost like there aren't like specific directives or adjustments that they're really lasering in on that they have to talk about. And listen, after you lose by 40, I'm not expecting a whole soliloquy about their pick and roll coverage, but how many times are you going to say, "Oh, we just didn't show up"? Teams are
Right.
really playing hard. We're the
It's such a
hunted.
cop out.
There's so many cop outs with this team.
It's frustrating, man. Anyways, let's move on to Rob for a minute because I've been meaning to talk about this, and I know we all have. But Rob didn't play tonight. Knee injury management. I mean, knee injury management is what they're saying. Is that just another word for knee injury pain? Because it feels like it's just knee injury pain. That's what I think, and I would be a little bit concerned about it. And again, there's a long storied history with the Celtics and how they report injuries about their players. So I always have my eyebrows raised
I don't blame you, Jimmy. I don't blame
when they announce somebody's out because I don't.
You got to read in between the lines, right, Sherrod? Like when they're mentioning swelling and keeping their eyes on on how if anything is swell. I mean, that's what comes to my mind, right? I mean, right, Bobby, Sherrod. I mean, when you
Well, they're
think
saying
of
there's no pain or anything in this case. They're
right,
just
but when it's a
managing it.
management thing, I'm thinking it's just let's just prevent the swell. I'm not saying that there is swelling, but just more of a precautionary thing, just a management thing. So,
Bobby, you said this earlier. Who needs management? Is it Rob Williams or is it Al Horford? I mean, one of these guys is 35, and the other one, I think, if he doesn't have any pain, and if the Celtics say he doesn't have any pain, then okay, fine. Let's just assume, or let's just say we agree with them, or we believe them. He should be playing. He should be playing, and he probably should be starting at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's the easy solution in terms of adjustments to get this team going. I wrote about that after last game. I was obviously a big advocate of that. And then all of a sudden he needs management. And he's played limited minutes. Again, the mixed signals here really strange to me. Joe said originally that he's not going to be on a minutes limit, and it looks like he has. And then when Damon became coach, he says they're taking, signals from the medical staff in terms of how long he should play. When you talk to Rob, and I've talked to him a couple of times, he's not feeling any pain. There haven't been any setbacks. He just feels a little winded. And so, with the last come, are you doing all right? You want to come out? And he says no. And so if he's saying he feels fine, he doesn't want to come out of games, and they're saying he needs this management, I just don't get how that lines up, especially if the only issue is conditioning, he should be playing. I don't know what's going on here. You didn't get great answers pregame. It says that they've said this is something that they're going to do throughout the year.
He played 18 minutes last game. It's not like this guy's
2 days ago.
Yeah, it's not like this guy's going out there giving you 30 minutes. Not even close.
And again, do I want him to play 40? I get the caution here. There's a bigger picture.
Bobby,
but
he's
he can't
barely
play at
playing
all?
20. He's
Yeah.
barely playing 20. And I mean barely.
Especially
games.
when you leave him out, that puts extra pressure on Horford in terms of minutes. And he already had to play almost 40 games with Rob out completely. Extra minutes there. And Al looked tired to me tonight. He didn't look like himself. So I don't get why they sat him tonight. I really don't.
Al looked gassed from the jump.
Yeah.
Just
some
didn't
guys
have.
were blowing by him tonight.
Well, not only were guys blowing by him, but even when he was like defending guys in the paint, I mean, guys are just rising up over him for little
Yeah.
bunnies in the paint, and that's not Al. That's to me a clear
Very
sign that.
uncharacteristic
But-
Al performance
Right,
tonight.
but back to your point about Rob, I think that the issue right now is fear. I think the Celtics are afraid to play him significant minutes because they're afraid that he'll get re-injured. They're afraid because right now I don't think there are clear indicators that if you play Rob 25 minutes a game, he increases the likelihood of being hurt by X%. I don't think there's anything like that. I think in their minds, they know that if we keep him around 15 to 20 minutes, he can build up his conditioning. He won't put too much stress and pressure on those knees, and he should be good to go by playoff time.
But
That
then
I
what?
think,
He's got to play more then.
yeah,
Yeah.
he will. And then his body's going to have to acclimate itself and recalibrate itself to playing like 25, 30 minutes. And when you're in a playoff situation where you've got potentially games every other day, how is his body going to react to that, having never gone through it until the playoffs? So
Right.
at some point, I got to believe between now and the postseason that they're going to get Rob's minutes closer to what they usually are in those mid-20s, mid to high 20s. And that's about what you're going to get from him in the playoffs. But if we're seeing like 18, 19, 20 minutes between now and like April, that makes me real nervous come playoff time because
I think you might need another big then if that's how it's going to be.
I think they need a buyout big.
Yeah.
yeah.
And again, they have a
Possibly.
lot of bigs on the roster. Josue, you
But
said
I don't.
Blake's not
I
getting
mean,
any
we
minutes
shouldn't be
right now.
we shouldn't be too surprised though. I mean, look, the playoffs is 3.5 months away. This team's supposed to go to the finals. They're supposed to go all the way deep into June. That's you know what I mean. Like that's another 5.5 months. And we saw what happened last year, where he turned into day-to-day Rob by the end, and was probably not even because he wanted to play so badly. Probably wasn't good, healthy enough to play in the NBA finals. So. Yeah, I mean, I think the Celtics are doing.
But you're thin there already, Josue. Like you can't have Horford playing to make up for all the minutes that Rob isn't playing, because then Horford's gonna run out of gas by the time the playoffs roll around. You need him just as much as you need, half this team practically.
Right, but that's
So-
why I don't understand the sense behind on a night where you don't have Rob. Al didn't give you a whole lot, especially going into that second half. I don't see why Joe can't give minutes out to someone like Blake Griffin or even Vonleh.
You're
just to
100%
sort of get
right.
these guys in the
Sherrod
mix
said
here, and see how far they've come along here between the first week of training camp until now. Again, not extended minutes. I'm not saying give these guys 10, 12, 13 a night, but just throw them in there, especially on the road and when you're getting your ass beat by 20 plus. I mean, you don't have to wait until the end of the fourth quarter to make
It's
a
a
move.
great point, Josue. And you know what? We know what the deal is with Blake. He's here for that one night where Al's sitting and he comes in. But when you sit Rob, maybe that's the one night you use him this week, because it doesn't look like they're going to sit Horford this week. Weird usage of Blake in this one. I 100% agree with that. Vonleh at this point, and again, we talked about this, and we'll start talking about this more in the February, but if you're not using Vonleh, if you're not using Jackson, there's no point in keeping those guys around, just sitting around on the roster. Yeah,
It's
you
not
gotta.
it's not like you're practicing. It's not like you're using them for practice because you're not practicing when you're not playing games. You're having
you gotta consolidate there. You got future picks. You have some salaries like Gallinari, and you got to make a decision on Pritchard too, right? So that's a tough one. You love having Pritchard as the guy on the bench who can step right up if Brogdon goes down or if Smart has some sort of issue. But if you're not going to use him at all when you're fully healthy and you're planning to be fully healthy for the playoffs, you do have to make a tough decision there. And, this extends to Hauser too, Sherrod. He's unproven. He had that great start. All of a sudden, he's dipping a little bit now, and you're starting to wonder if he can even play. So your bench is thinning fast, and you have a lot of guys on the bench you're not sure if you can play or even utilize. Your starters are getting tired. Effort's becoming an issue. You have to look at those things. But there's not any, again, major move that's going to fix everything going on with this team. A lot of it's just the regulars figuring things out. But you do start to look at some of those things on the bottom end when you got Raw being managed and you've got Al Horford's minutes ticking up and, all these minutes for the Jays too. Hauser's certainly not relieving those guys.
No, he's not at all.
All right.
Losing trust in that regard.
Yeah.
I think we've said all we need to say about this one tonight. We
man.
we have hopefully a more entertaining game.
This is like one of those 2022 shows, Jimmy. We used to do
It
this
better
every
be.
night.
I'm
Better be
getting
entertaining.
PTSD, man. I'm getting PTSD about it. But hey, we got a big one on Thursday. One of you guys is going, I think, right?
Josue.
Yes, I'll
Can
be
you
there.
go?
I'll be there.
Josue's
All
Celtics,
right,
you better-
Josue, you're gonna
be
be
there.
doing the hard hitting reporting on what's going wrong here.
Yeah, dude, you're
better-
going there at the perfect time, man.
They better bring it, man. They better bring the effort in this one.
Well, see, here's the thing.
I mean, I'm going to Texas either way.
If Dallas wants to
Exactly.
win, if Dallas wants to win, they'll announce shortly before the game that Luka's taking a rest night. He's taking a day off because that's the strategy.
And then Kimba will go off for like 40 in the first half.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
you got Kemba in
Yeah.
this game. Yeah, you'll get a chance to
Oh,
talk to Kemba.
Josue, you
Josue.
got
I
to
gotta
talk
catch
to
up.
Kemba.
I got to catch up with Kemba for sure.
Yeah, we got.
It's gonna be a
Luka, we
fun
got
game.
Kemba.
Hey, and you know what? These are the games they get up for, right? They're gonna get an emphatic win on Thursday. We can already see that.
I wouldn't go that far. Maybe
Emphatic win.
That's a little bit of a stretch.
a better
Is that the
effort.
new- is that the new phenomenal?
Again, they have this. They have this in them. I do like that word too.
They do.
Clippers. That's an emphatic win recently. Bucks, emphatic win. They have this in them. It's just been inconsistent lately, and
Yes.
you're holding a team that wants to win a championship to a much higher standard than a good win here. But that's what the Clippers are doing. Look at them. Oh, a great win over the Celtics in the last month. Oh, all of a sudden their guys are sitting and they're losing bad again. They lose to the Heat last night. Like they're just up and down, up and down, up and down. What made the Celtics so compelling to start the year is that even on those nights where you felt like you weren't going to have it. Remember that game in Toronto? It was a back-to-back. I think Horford just got dropped out. They were missing some guys heavy minutes the night before. They just scrapped and dug and won that game. And even if they lost, you would have been like, oh, man, they're undermanned. Like you would have had all these different excuses that you could have leaned on if they won that game. Instead, they dug it out. And that's what looked like it was going to make this team really special. I was starting to wonder, and John actually did think this, Jimmy, could this be like the Warriors team that was just going to like sprint through the regular season and put themselves 10 games ahead of everybody? We're seeing, unfortunately, that that's not the case.
Nope. Not
No, it's
today.
All right, so we got Luka Magic potentially. I mean, he's had some freaking amazing performances recently, but also against the Celtics specifically. So that'll be a fun one. Don't sleep on Christian Wood though. Christian Wood's very talented big on that team.
Yeah.
Dinwiddie has had success against the Celtics in the past. So it's not gonna be a game where the Celtics are just gonna show up. I don't think that they think that. I hope that they've learned their lessons tonight. Who knows if they actually have. But I'm sure we'll hear some, once we get off the show, we'll see some other quotes from Jalen, and I don't know if Marcus spoke because he got
Probably
the boot
not.
tonight. Yeah, so
Nah,
we'll probably have to wait to talk to them. But we got Josue heading to Dallas. Man, dude, the Lone Star State. What are you gonna do in Dallas, bro? What are you gonna get into besides the game?
I've never been to Dallas.
You're gonna be where? Oh, okay. We'll talk after.
Jimmy thinks all we do is party on the road. Come on.
Oh, dude,
we gotta-
Bobby, I see
what
your
people-
Instagram, bro. I see your Instagram. I see all the
No,
pictures
we-
you got, bro.
Bobby, am I
Acting like he's
wrong
just
or what?
like,
We
got
work
the
twice
hard
as
on.
hard on the road. Believe it or not.
Yeah, we were at the Garden till like after midnight. We're looking for places to go after. We're like, oh, we worked too hard.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you
we
guys.
got, like-
you guys work so hard.
We got like
No.
3 to 4 hours of downtime, but it's like scattered throughout the weekend or whatever. So
Josue, you'll find some fun while you're there. We'll see Josue in a cowboy hat, guarantee it. We'll see him in Spurs.
Oh, that could be the new bucket hat.
That could be the new bucket hat. All right,
Not
guys.
at work.
Final thoughts about anything, whether it's tonight, whether it's moving on to the Dallas game.
I got nothing. I got it all out.
Okay.
We're done.
Bobby's
We're
got
done.
nothing. Sherrod's done. Josue's got plenty to say from Dallas. So
make another
make
statement,
sure-
all right? This is
There you
Luka
go.
we're talking about, all right? Put everyone back in their place. People who are thinking the Celtics are down and out, or here we go again. It was a fluke. He's got to put them. He's got to put the talking heads in their place. Let's go, Tatum. Bring it. Give me a good showdown between you and Luka. In Dallas, win or lose, just give me a good performance.
That's right.
Obviously, the team as a whole, but obviously, all eyes will be locked on those two for sure. So hopefully, we get a good show.
We'll have a good one. Make sure you follow all these guys on Instagram. Their handles are right here. Real Bob Manning, Sherrod Blakely, Josue. Josue is going to have some live reporting for us, and we'll all be back here Thursday night after the show. Hopefully, it'll be a better vibe for the boys as we talk about that game. But nonetheless, Celtics drop one tonight, 150, right? 150 to 117 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. We will see you guys Thursday. Oh, lastly but not least, one more shout out to our sponsors, AG1. You want to go over to athleticgreens.com/garden for 5 free travel packs and some vitamin D. And also our friends at Rocket Money. Head over to rocketmoney.com/garden, save hundreds, and cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now. So thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to you guys for hanging out with us tonight, and we will see you all